The show you're tuned into right now was put together by students and staff enrolled in the broadcasting courses in the radio television department at San Joaquin Delta College.
Unknown Space Radio.
Thanks for listening and supporting college radio.
Tom Argonda.
Humans have been fascinated with death and resurrection.
Alex Dillon.
And the point at which someone is completely dead. Now you are going to die. And what is the actual difference between a living creature and a dead body anyway?
Tom Argonda. Alex Dillon.
To understand what death is, we need to understand what life is.
Unknown Space Radio.
Welcome back to Unknown Space. I am Thomas Argonda, joined here always by Alex. This is sort of the final topic of our... But we're here talking about the final topic of our show. This is a topic we've kind of maneuvered around the entire series. This is the only promise in life. This is the first commitment we make at birth that we carry on our shoulders for the rest of our lives. It's the first commitment of life, and the final one too. Today we're talking about death. And I think death is so apparent today, especially now. Our mortality, I think, is more apparent than ever. And this is kind of a morbid conversation I've had with my friends about death in general, and not really just. This is even before the whole coronavirus pandemic. But I feel like our life expectancy is kind of at an all-time low. What do you think about that?
Yes. Especially with the fact that, like, personally, I don't want to, like, live to 30 because I just don't see myself growing old. I don't see myself having a future that is worth living for. And even when you start to get old, I feel like 30 is like the age where you start to have like issues with your health and your body that you literally cannot control.
At 30 years old, that's actually the age where you actually officially start dying, actually. So that's kind of interesting you mentioned that.
That's just like miserable. Like there's stuff out of your control that you can't. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out of our control as it is, but I think once your body starts to internally shut itself down, even though it's
give
like
up on you.
Yeah, a slow and long process. It's just, I don't know if I could be able to handle that.
I'm in that same boat. Like, obviously, I'm 19. I guess I don't really have, obviously, too much experience with that. But just the thought of it is so, it's so appalling. Shoot, when I was 15, I don't think, I could barely see life at 18, and here I am 19. But now looking on to 30, it's like, am I gonna make it that far? I don't know. It's an odd thought. It's a scary thought. But my friends and I were talking about this. We feel the current life expectancy is somewhere in our 60s. I
feel like that's way too long for me.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm talking about just humans in general, not even ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just a scary thought, like growing old.
Would you want to live a long life? If you're... Yeah, no, I'm going to leave it at that. Would you want to live a long life?
Would I want to live a long life? I would like to live That's a hard question, dude. Yes and no. And I really don't think I could elaborate on that. I want to live to see
You know what's
more.
crazy? Hang on, I'm sorry.
You know what's crazy?
You know what's
No,
crazy?
go ahead.
Crazy?
I'm sitting in like my back room that looks out into my backyard, and as we're talking about this, a crow flies past the window and into the tree in front of me.
Did it look at you?
I don't think so,
Okay, you're good.
but that's freaky. Anyways, sorry.
Where was I? Okay, like I was saying, I want to live to see more, but I don't think I want to live to see too much. And I really don't think I could elaborate on that. The whole growing old thing, your body starts turning on you. Life in general kind of eventually turns on you. I don't know. I've talked about this before. There's just a lot more for me out there. And I want to live to see that. Past that, I got no answers to.
But there becomes a point where you can't do the things that you used to be able to. Like,
Yeah, that seems very miserable.
once your
and,
youth starts to be stripped away from you, where you can't physically do things, I think, yeah, like you said, that's just miserable, and it doesn't sound something that I would look forward to.
I'm sure nobody looks forward to it, but I think it's a matter of...
But in a way we do, because if you do think about like wanting to grow old, you have to face those consequences of being older.
Oh yeah, of course. It's like, I don't know, it's a curiosity, I suppose, of mine. It's something I think about a lot. And I mean, death in general is something we think about a lot. It's like, we love it, but we hate it so much.
Have you thought about when you die? Like, have you thought about how you want your family to, I don't know, process that or deal with it?
Like, whether I want to be buried or cremated?
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. It's like both seem death. I mean, let me go back. Death is pretty morbid, man. So either way, there's kind of this level of morbid that's invested into it. But being buried also seems just super morbid, and so does like being cremated seem pretty morbid. If I do live to my expected age, if I get cremated, the people that are gonna get my ashes, I don't even know them yet, man. Like, I'm talking about wife, maybe kids. That's hard to say, just because I don't know them yet. But I mean, if I were to die right now, I think ashes would be probably the go-to. So I could be, I don't know. So I could watch movies with my family or something like that. Have you thought about it?
I have thought about it, and I think it's actually pretty funny. To me, it's funny. But I would want, like, a Viking burial, because I think it'd be just so cool to be sent off on a little platform that's on fire, and people can, like, watch me just burn away into the ocean.
Sounds
And I
morbid
think-
when you say it like that.
A little bit. But I think it's less morbid than being buried, because to me,
That is, yeah.
being buried is a waste of space. That's for me personally. For like other people in the world and like family and loved ones and stuff, I think it's okay.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But for me personally, I think I think right now I'm a waste of space. I think I'm a waste of space and resources, and I don't want to be that
In
after death. Yeah.
All right, so my dad has like said this as a joke before, and it's like, or he might be serious about it. I don't know, but he's talked about putting his ashes in the toilet and just flushing it from there, and it kind of, because it's like he talks about how he'll eventually reach the ocean, and he'll eventually just kind of reach everywhere. And
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
yeah, like that's like the whole ocean thing is kind of a beautiful way to go about it. I think you're gonna end up eventually everywhere.
Just put me in a little packet and turn me into Kool-Aid.
It's chocolate milk mix.
But no, I think that is really cool to be just, I don't know, to end up in the ocean somehow. That it's true that I don't know if it's true, but the idea of you'll end up everywhere because
If not
of
everywhere, a lot of places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I think, like I said, I think it's a beautiful way to go about it.
And maybe if there is some sort of afterlife or some spirit that you turn into, maybe you would have access to go anywhere. Because maybe like when you're buried or you're turned into like ashes, like cremated, maybe you're stuck in that place that you're left. So what if...
Oh man, I don't want to be stuck in a box.
Exactly. Or stuck in a cemetery or stuck in like a home. Because like we talked about a ghost story and he was kind of stuck in the house. And I don't know, I mean, that's probably his choice, but what if it wasn't his choice? We don't know if it was his choice or not. But to be stuck in the house, you would be just temporary, or it's just, your family who lives there would just be temporary. And the whole aspect of time, they're just temporary. And if you do get to see throughout the entirety of time, or the rest of time, would you really want to be just stuck in that one place?
I would not. I mean, like, I think, like, when it comes to my ashes, I think if I was to die right now, for the sake of my family's comfort, I wouldn't mind being in that box for as long as they're comfortable having me. And then eventually, I don't know, throw me somewhere, man. Put me in the ocean. Speaking of death, dude, I've been having so much dreams where I'm just straight up dying lately. Like, I'm never dead, obviously, because I wouldn't really even know. But I've, like, been having dreams where I'm, like, dying. And it's, like, has me suspicious, if I'm being honest.
Like, is it trying to tell you something?
I don't know.
Like, dude, you're gonna die soon?
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, life expectancy is probably at a low, so I wouldn't be surprised if I don't even see 30 or 25. Maybe that's a bit dramatic, but 30 is probably like the number that it's hard to see past. It's crazy. I'm not 20 yet, but I'm about to be. I'm like almost 10 years from 30. I was thinking that the other day. It's like, that's weird, dude.
I want to go back to the dreams conversation, but after there's something that I want to bring up. I don't know if I said this already or not, but like, I just can't feasibly see like a future that I would want to live in. Like, we have dreams about like things that we want to happen in our lives and look forward to in our future, but I just don't see those things happening. I don't see myself living a happy life in the future. So it's
that's
like
something. I understand that. Wait, did you still have something else to say?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I understand that. And honestly, it's kind of a gamble, because at that point it becomes a matter of living that much, to be honest. Like, I mean, I don't really see a happy future, but I don't really not see a happy future either. It's like, I mean, it's the future. I don't know what it's gonna be, man. It's like, the future isn't written. I don't know. I can't guarantee you a happy future. I can't guarantee anybody a happy future. That's just a matter of making it to that age. I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow or in 5 minutes.
Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio.
We're going to take a short PSA break, but we'll be back here on Delta College Radio 93.5 KWDC. Tom Argonda, Alex Salon.
All right, so I want to talk about this one topic only because one night I had a dream that I supposedly had died, and my afterlife was sort of, I was watching my entire life in like a movie theater. And it was it's pretty beautiful, tragic of course. And it just had me thinking, what is the perfect post-death scenario? Because I did enjoy that, if that was the afterlife. Rewatching my entire life was just, I don't know, it was beautiful. So I wanted to ask you, what would be your perfect post-death scenario?
I actually want to ask you about that dream first,
Of course.
if that's all right.
Yeah.
So, were you, in the dream, were you watching everything all over again?
Yes, I was. And it wasn't even like a highlight reel or anything. It was just straight up everything.
And was it true? Like, was it your actual life?
I was told that. I mean, I remember seeing, obviously I don't remember everything, because I mean, it is still a dream, but it was, I was seeing some pretty harsh moments in there, and also some really good ones. And
So it was all like real things you remember.
Yes, it was.
That's interesting.
And it's crazy that, I don't know, that was able to project into the dream to the level it did. But now I'm curious, man. I mean, I can't say.
How long was that dream, though?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I wasn't in there for like 19 years. But it was kind of just like I was aware it was my entire life playing to me.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if the dream went on longer, I probably would have been in there longer, but I eventually woke up. But yeah, I wasn't in that movie theater for 19 years or anything.
So, do you think if that was your dream or your post-death scenario, like, do you think you would be in there for 19 years? Like, say you were to die, like, right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you think you would be there for all 19 years?
The whole thing, which I left out I guess, an important detail, was that because I didn't really understand what was happening, but like a voice or something explained to me that I was dead and that I was to rewatch my entire life all over again. And once it is over, once I reach the end, that's where I end. That's where I fade into nothingness. It's kind of scary.
That fade into nothingness, is that like just going off into the void, or
yeah,
what do you think happens?
Well, I mean, my understanding of it was just fade into nothingness, absolute a void, man. No feelings, no anything. Just how I was before I was born. But that being said, I think that wouldn't be too bad of an afterlife if I was to.
No, I agree.
Because, like, I mean, we've already discussed time travel. I'm someone who kind of dwells on the past. So I think if that was an option, I think I would take that over, like, time travel. Because then I'm affecting less. I guess I just, like, when it comes to going back in time, I just want to see it. I just want to see it again. But what's your perfect post-death scenario?
I think I would want to see like an in detailed like statistics that I could go through. Like I would want to be able to see like, I don't know, for just some things that are off the top of my head, like how much time I wasted doing nothing and how much like time I spent, I don't know, like
in love or something like that.
Yeah. Or even something stupid like how far did I walk or travel by foot my entire life or stuff like that.
I don't think that's stupid at all. That'd be cool to know.
Yeah, I'd want to be able to see like more, I I guess, personal stuff too. Like you said, like how much time I spent in love, or I don't know, I guess like how many people I might have affected in my life in a positive and negative, in general. Like, I don't know, just like I'd want a detailed statistics or be able to like ask stuff. But I think a more detailed, like, set statistic would be interesting because I don't know if I'd have like a certain time of how long I could be there for, like, asking questions, and I'm sure I wouldn't be able to think of everything but if I did have like forever to just ask questions, I think that'd be cool.
So, like, what do you think would happen after you run out of questions?
I don't know. I've never thought of that. Like, I've never thought of the aftermath. I've just always thought of, like, I think it'd be cool to have that, I guess, ability to just learn about my life
That'd be cool,
in a numerical way.
Do you think you'd be able to kind of like rewatch your life in that scenario?
Probably not, but I think that'd be like a really interesting thing too. I would want to be able to rewatch my life, like down to every second, every millisecond.
Even the boring
just
parts?
Relive my life. Yeah, even the boring parts, because like,
I'm not going to live it again, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it'd be, because going back to what you said, like thinking about how many people you've affected either in a positive or negative way, I think that's an interesting thought to have. And if I was in that situation, that's probably the first question I would ask now. That's really, I don't know, I wonder.
I think, I mean, obviously that wouldn't be, I can't think of the word, I don't think that would be what happens after you die. But if I could choose like what happens after I die, I think that would be it. Like your thing and my thing combined, I think would be perfect.
I think that would be cool.
Because you get to see your life over again from your perspective, and in a way with asking questions and stuff, you could like see it from from like the world perspective, like maybe how much like impact of the world you had, if any. I've been thinking a lot lately about like the last episode. I mentioned that my grandma passed away, and you were like, I don't know how you're talking about it right now, and like just totally okay. And I have been thinking about that a lot. Like, I don't know, I haven't really had anyone that was like super, super close to me die. So I don't know what that grief process is like, but I think it's very weird that when I found out that she passed away, that I didn't really feel anything. And I don't know if maybe it's me just coming to terms with it. I came to terms with it as soon as I found out that she tested positive, that I just kind of assumed. I will admit that I do feel bad that I didn't call her, because I meant to do that and I didn't. I just kept putting it off. But I don't feel what you're supposed to feel when people die. And she isn't the first person in my life to die. I've had, like, you know, I know animals are different. I feel like animals, you shouldn't have as much emotional attachment as you do with like people, because there's so much more. But that's another topic. I've had like animals die, and I've had my great grandfather die, and I would see him all the time as a kid, and I was sad, but I wasn't, I don't know. It's hard to say because I think I was just really young at that time still. I wasn't like too young, but I think I was young enough where I didn't really understand. But I did cry. I remember crying. And there was someone who I didn't know, but he was a part of the family, who passed away, I think when I was in high school. And I didn't really like feel anything until I went to the funeral, and I actually like saw everyone, how much he affected their life. But I mean, I don't know if it would be this. I'd probably feel it once we had like an official funeral for her, because we obviously can't right now because of the coronavirus. But I don't know. I don't feel anything, and it's weird. And I feel like I should, because I grew up with her. She was a part of my life for a long time. And it's like my uncle is kind of in the same position as her. For me, he's like in the same position where I grew up with him and I visit him all the time, and they visited us all the time. And I'm pretty sure if he passed away right now that I would be very upset. And I don't know why I'm not upset about my grandma.
like you said, how you you would always visit her for a very long time. A long
She
time.
lived with us when I was a kid.
Yeah, for a long time, you said, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
A long time isn't, this sounds harsh, but it isn't forever. Like, I mean, you said you didn't feel anything when she passed. And I'm sure you did feel something. Whether you felt it strongly is like, I don't think you just didn't feel it strongly. And, especially since you haven't seen her in so long. Like, I know when like this death I've been mourning for a very long time, I hadn't seen that person in so long. And to be honest, when I heard about the death, it's like, I really did not believe it. And it wasn't until the funeral, I kind of needed that as like a wake up call to like show me like, yeah, he's gone. And I think you feel strongly. I think you're just kind of waiting for something to bring it to your attention. You need that wake up call. Like the funeral, it's just like, I don't know, the one thing I won't do at funerals is look at the body. Just because, I don't know, that's like, it's kind of morbid to me.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, just seeing how strongly this person affected a lot of people, including myself, it was just kind of a reminder. Like, this funeral could have been anywhere. It could have been, it didn't have to be in a church. His body didn't have to be on display for everybody. That's not what
the
kind
point
of
of the funeral.
What was that?
The point of the funeral?
Yeah, it's not aside from religion and aside from the dead body being in the room, it's seeing how much that person affected people's lives. And that was kind of a wake up call that death is real, I suppose.
So do you think you can hold a funeral without the person physically being there, or not the person, but I guess the body being there?
You could, like, listen, you could have a funeral with the body there, and that person is not there. It's just, at that point, post-death.
But that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Do you think you could hold a funeral without the body being there in general?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because if the body's there, it's, like I said, it's not like the person's there. The body isn't I don't know, this sounds super fake spiritual, but it's like, the body is just a shell. Mm-hmm. It's not the person, man. So I do think you could hold a funeral without the body. You could hold it at Six Flags too. It's like, it's just, you need the connection to be there, I suppose.
Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio.
We're going to take a short PSA break, but we'll be back here on Delta College Radio 93.5 KWDC.
Tom Margonda, Alex Salon.
So you and I were somewhat, same age group and all. You grew up with the same internet that I did. This is kind of one of the more morbid topics, I suppose. One of the more messed up topics, but did you ever take a driver's ed class?
I did not.
No?
Nope.
Oh, so you never seen on like red asphalt?
Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, okay, let me, there's this documentary movie thing that, they show you in driver's ed called Red Asphalt. And it's kind of, it's informational and educational for sure. but I think the main reason they show you it is to like kind of scare you into obviously not drunk drive.
Okay, we had every 15 minutes.
Yeah, kind of. But did they show you like did they show you red asphalt where it's like just like a bunch of like road accidents and then
Was
you
it
see
like true stuff, like real stuff?
yeah, like very gruesome imagery. Yeah, they like showed us that, and going back to like what I was saying, I mean it shows stuff like brains on the asphalt, literally red asphalt. And going back to what I was saying, like you grew up with the same internet that I did. When were you kind of like desensitized to death? Because growing up in this internet ruled media age, there's a lot of death on the internet. And it's kind of something in my youth was kind of something I was intrigued with, I suppose. Because, I mean, shoot, when there's like, I think at a young age, everybody wants to see something shocking, I guess. Like, when I saw, looking back at Red Asphalt, like watching that in Driver's Ed, I'm like thinking, I should have been a lot more shocked with that. But I grew up in this, like I said, internet ruled media age. And it really was nothing compared to what I've seen on the internet. Like,
yeah.
What age do you think you were when you like were desensitized to the faces of death?
When I was relatively young, I wouldn't say like super young. I was at least probably, I don't know, 8 or 9. My brother,
that's a lot younger than I was.
Yeah, my brother and his friends used to like to look at a whole lot of bad stuff like that, like stuff from like Reddit and stuff from like, I don't know if you've heard of this website, but Best Score.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they used to like to look at a lot of stuff like that, and I would just be around when they would watch stuff like that. So I don't know.
Were you
I guess pretty early.
By it?
Yeah. And I think, I know this sounds really bad to say, but to like the same extent, I think I still am. Not to the point of where I would actively search for it or actively do something to find that or experience that in person. Like, I would never do anything to personally experience it. But it's definitely, if you know, you go on Reddit or you're on the internet and you see something that says something like that, like you'll click on it because it's interesting. Yeah, it's eye-grabbing.
Yeah.
And go
ahead.
If like something like that were to show up, I don't feel the shock or the disgust that other people might.
It seems like such a, it's like kind of a morbid thing that we're so desensitized to it. And I don't think we're to blame in that situation, obviously, with the internet in our hands and such. Like, I don't know, it's just like, it's a thought I had. It's so morbid that it, like, Red Asphalt didn't shock me as much as it was shocking the rest of the class, as much as it shocked because my brother, he had done driver's ed before me, obviously. He's my older brother. And, I remember him telling me how it was a shocking video, and I'm not going to say excited me, but it intrigued me, I guess, to see what was this thing. And the entire class was like super shocked as well and scared on top of that. But I was just kind of sitting in the back like, okay.
That's it?
Like, that's all. Yeah, like, there's this, I don't think it's technically like a snuff film. But there's this old, I don't think it's a snuff film because I think that has to do with like homicide and suicide. But,
I thought a snuff film has to do with like actual gore being used. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wait. Using what?
Like used in the production of the film or...
Oh, yeah. Like it's people killing people or people killing themselves on camera. Yeah. But Nah, there's this old, I think it's kind of a documentary called The Faces of Death. And I remember my parents talking about it when I was pretty young. And I had an iPod by then. So that like really intrigued me. And I think that was kind of like the first face of death that I've seen. It's like kind of it's actually more informational than it is like just made outright to like shock you. But it is it's essentially about coming to the understanding of death. And it shows death to so many, in so many ways. There's dogs fighting, killing each other. I think there's like, I don't think I should be talking about the rest, but the point is, I saw that at like a really young age. And I think that's what ultimately desensitized me to it.
That's a good question, though. That's a very good question.
Like I said before, death is like, it's the only promise in life. It's something we carry from birth to, what do you know, death. Yeah. Because we're always humans are so fragile, man. And it's like, how do you carry death with you your entire life? Like, I personally use it kind of as obviously like a driving force, because we're so unsure of an afterlife. I figure, yeah, you gotta live this up as much as you possibly can. So that's kind of like the way it kind of drives me. Plus, like I said, I think last episode, how life is kind of meaningless. So it's like, shouldn't be scared to take risks, I guess. How do you carry death with you?
That's such a broad question. Because...
Is it a good question?
It's a good question, but it's a broad question, because... Do you mean, like, how do I carry that idea of death with me everywhere, or...
Yeah, because, regardless of whether you're thinking about death is always thinking about you. It's like, it's gonna always be there. How do you kind of use it to move yourself forward, I suppose?
I don't know. Because the idea of death is always present. Because like we said, that like, there's so many things that could just kill you, and it's crazy that it hasn't happened yet. But like, I don't know. I kind of take it as like I said, I don't know if you're gonna use that part or if that part is in the non-recorded or the part that we recorded over. But I don't fear it to the extent that I think a lot of people do, where they are just kind of like, they don't want to die. But I also would be okay with it. Like, I would be okay with something, I don't know, taking my life. So it's kind of just something that I think I kind of look forward to in a really morbid and misconstrued way. I think I kind of look forward to it.
We kind of have no choice but to look forward to it.
Yeah.
Not that it's like a happy look forward to it.
But I'm not going to do anything to intentionally get there.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I'm aware of its presence, and I'm aware of anything can happen, and I take it and just kind of move on, Like, it doesn't really... The idea of it doesn't really drag me down.
Yeah, it's like, when you say look forward to it, I think of it as sort of like a video game. It's the final level. It's, you gotta do all this to get there. And you gotta do it good to get there. In a good, morbid way. Like, it's, I don't know, I would think of it as like a video game. Play this life, and you get rewarded with that. Not that it's a reward, but you beat the game.
It's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Especially if you, I think, lived a good life.
Mm.
I mean, even if you lived a bad life, I think it's still like an accomplishment to some facet.
Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio. Unknown Space Radio.
We're going to take a short PSA break, but we'll be back here on Delta College Radio 93.5 KWDC.
Tom Argonda, Alex Salon.
I think there's a problem with people that are so stuck with this fear of death that they're afraid to do things, or they're afraid of not doing things.
At that point, I think you're barely even moving forward.
Yeah, and I think what makes me different from those people is I have accepted the point that it is inevitable, and there's too many people that haven't, or there's too many people that think they're invincible, which is another. With that, I think there's once you have some sort of acceptance or some sort of realization that it is inevitable, I think you just kind of not
live
necessarily
with it.
Yeah, you live with it. Like, you don't really care about it. You don't really have that fear anymore, and it's just like, what's the worst that can happen?
When do you think, because I mean, I know there's a topic you want to get into.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there. But,
that's fine. No, that's fine. You're good.
No. Like, when was the, not necessarily age, but when did you, like, kind of realize that? Because, I mean, for me, death is still, even after, you know, accepting it, it's still a scary idea to think about. But I think it's like, I mean, can't avoid it. Why be scared of it? But what age were you, or what time did you, like, realize that, like, death is real?
I think it is always innately, I think for everyone it's always been innately, like, acknowledged that death is real. So I'm going to take your question and raise it to a better question, or I guess a better answer. The first time, when I first started to realize that it's, I don't know, when I first, like, kind of come to terms with it, I think was probably within the last, like, few years. I think when you get to a point where you're just kind of at, like, the lowest and stripped of everything, and you realize what is the point, I think that's when you can start to understand it better. Because
when you feel like you're kind of close to it?
Yeah. Or to the point where you don't appreciate life anymore.
I definitely understand that. I think at our lowest is the closest we are to death, I guess. Because at that point, it's like, we don't feel like we're living, and we definitely don't feel like living. So you kind of end up assessing your other option, and then you realize, like, yeah, like, that's a real phenomenon, and I think living might just be kind of better. Who knows? I think for the longest time, not that I thought I was invincible, but death was not kind of, just wasn't, like, real to me, even though obviously, like you said, it's always been there. We've always had that idea for a very long time. But I think it was kind of when death hit my household is when it kind of became apparent that, well, yeah, it's real. But I want to talk about death and love. And I'm going into this super, I don't know if I'm going to even have the right words, is the thing. It was kind of like just a bullet point I wrote death and love. It's like death, going back again to what I said, is the first commitment in life. Because with this life, I think there comes two big commitments. One of them is death, and that's kind of, it's automatic. That's going to be with you till you die. But in between birth and death, I think we want to make the commitment of love, because we're so obsessed with the idea of death. And I'm thinking sometimes, like, I think our obsession with both is kind of the same thing for the same reasons. We're thinking about love. We want to fall in love. We want to commit to love because of death. And death is kind of something we want to get to out of the means of love. This is just a thought I've been having for like a while. Are they the same thing? Obviously not the same thing, but do we carry them to the same faucet as each other?
I think we do, because death is an end game. Death is an end goal, and so is love. And I think for everyone, they want to fall in love in their life and find the love of their life, you know?
They want to be comfortable in death.
And I think the reason why love and death go so hand in hand is because they're both like a sharing of life. They're both a sharing of death. And it's you want to go into, I think people want to live their life with love, even if they accept the fact that they're going to die eventually, because it is a feeling of comfort that they're not alone if they die, or if they were to die, like right now. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm going to end it off on that just because that was worded very good. Unless you had something else to say.
Nope.
All right. Don't hit stop recording.
Unknown Space Radio has been a production of KWDC 93.5 LPFM, Delta College Radio. This program is made possible by listeners like you. Programming is produced by the students, staff, and faculty of San Joaquin Delta College's Radio Television Department. It is supported by the Delta College Department of Arts, Humanities, and Multimedia, the Career Technical Education and the Workforce Development Office, and the State of California. Thank you for listening. Prachiel, the archdemon of dying times, Winter. Sabnak, demon of poisons, dreams. Anael, demon of lust, love. Lahad, the devil voice. Vedas, the life promiser. Zephyr, deforms the unborn. Nathaniel Joseph. Ambriel, the great changer, time. Surgat, who opens all locks, reality is falling apart. Cheddar, the wish granter, media. Eologos, visible and invisible, the unknown soldier. Stygel, who brings death. Tom and Alex are dead. All demons will rest tonight. Thank you for listening to Unknown Space Radio.